tonight? Coming up here, Leslie?
Yeah.
Yeah? But you're gonna have to behave yourself if you sit up here.
Because the whole world can see you on YouTube, right?
Leslie never behaves. Oh. Well, there's always room for improvement.
I talked.
There you go.
Oh.
You know.
Oh, Andrew.
You know, I'm gonna watch you too, George.
How to play it right, eh?
Yeah.
She makes sure I share.
So we could always bring cookies to your place. They've got lots of directions to go, eh?
Yeah. Got your Bible out? Got your Bible out yet? What's my second Samuel? Second Samuel.
Nope, we're good, we're good. Just
Hi, John.
Hi. You?
I'm doing good.
Hi.
How are you?
how is
How
everyone?
you good, Eva?
Hi.
Hi, Robin.
How are you doing?
Only staying on trouble?
I see that you brought your friend Jordan.
Yeah.
That's very good. And how is Mr. Andrew?
Pretty good.
Yeah, good behaving.
Yes,
No.
Jordan misbehaves because she gets into my cookies.
Yes, I do.
Did Leslie teach her that?
Yeah, Leslie taught me that.
No, not really, except Jordan was the one that started getting them because she said she's got to make sure I start sharing them.
And then I stole Rice Krispie.
Yeah, you have to share. You
Right.
know how it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I didn't get one either. I didn't get one either. No. No pasture tonight.
And he was just filling in the 1 week, I think.
Huh?
He was just filling in the 1 week.
I don't, I thought he comes in, but both fellows did.
He might be, yeah.
Guess we put it in for last week.
Last time to fix because I ripped one of the pages up.
Because Jordan will make sure I share it.
So you have to have big
Yeah.
cookie jar.
Yes. I behave all the time.
That's very good.
That's not what I
The
heard.
jokes are just flying tonight, aren't they? Yeah, you should behave.
Andrew's got a great sense of humor, doesn't he?
Yeah, very good. That is important.
One of my pages got ripped up last time. Because it's height up on this side.
So what's new in the residence, guys?
Not a whole lot.
Not a lot.
Right, sure.
It's nice. Right? Please.
Children? I had a good time on Monday. I had a good time on Monday. I went to witness aquarium.
Really?
Wow.
It's beautiful, I love it. So how long did you travel?
No,
Like 3 hours?
Yes,
probably.
on a bus.
On the bus? So how many people went? Lots of people?
A lot of people went, yeah.
So whoever is going, or just they kind of
There was
propose
5 staff went with us.
5 staff and the residents?
It was a different organization.
So it was not from your property? No. That's great. I love this aquarium. It's fantastic. Did you
They
enjoy?
got some sharks,
I know. Did you enjoy?
and I got the stingray. I wanted to touch one.
No, you don't rather do it. You can't really, but
What, the stingray? Yes, you can. If you want to touch the stingray, you can touch the stingray.
it can burn you. Your skin can be burned.
Yeah,
So it's better to look to the glass.
yeah. But you can touch their back and not tail.
So did you see all aquarium or only part? Because it's big. Did you walk?
I had a wheelchair.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
And then Leslie went through the moving sidewalk part.
Yeah, little walkway.
Yeah, it's really big, so you
Stand there and you stand there and sit there, let the walkway move. Move the walkway.
everything
Go
is
through the
huge
tunnel.
and big distances, right? And I'm glad that you could go. Did you go, Andrew, as well?
Yes.
Oh, yeah? That's great. It's nice to see something even travel.
And we saw the huge, we saw the eels. They like so huge.
When you see all these different creatures, you just cannot believe there is so many, and it's only part.
How are you tonight?
Hello. How are you? Oh, no.
And just give me another 60 scan, do another ultrasound. Yeah.
So how was the wedding? Many people?
Oh, it's same as,
That's the good side.
that's, our daughter is gonna be 40 people as well. That's what she said. Yeah, that's right.
So have you been satisfied, like when you see how I was organized? And fly, okay. We've heard from few people about delays.
In the US, yeah.
That's right. So it's better to stay and wait than.
Yes, you won't complain.
Exactly.
Yeah, so by the time you get in, everything, 12:30.
One of these days, it's gonna snow, and one of these days when Jordan goes outside to take the dog, she's gonna find snow on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, white out, yeah.
And we will charge your batteries too.
Doesn't matter what
Yeah, that's the habit, I think, your body's trained. That's right.
Just in the truck, there's gotta be a yard in there. I gotta order a whole extra yard. Because the driver didn't go tell me which around.
Honey, have you ever wanted a garden walkway?
the third one up, which then includes one piece of baggage and your receipts on it.
Yeah.
So with that, we also got,
Could be an item.
comfort class. This class gives you more,
Right,
extra 6 inches.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, we paid for that too, going down and coming.
I'm sold.
You know?
How long was your flight?
Just now.
But it is better really than
Well, ours is,
So from where did you but from Toronto, Pearson or the small one?
Shed foundation, gotta be something.
you didn't go down to Billy Bishop.
And this is why amateurs don't dabble in that stuff, because I got no idea.
Okay.
Okay, it is 7 o'clock. Time for us to get started.
Yeah.
Whoa, okay, somebody's enthusiastic.
Yes, we're checking the time.
All right. Okay, let's commit our time to the Lord. Well, this evening we just thank you that we can gather together to look into your word. We just pray that your Spirit would direct in our time and that we would get from this study what you would have for each of us and that you would show us how to apply it to our lives. And we just thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. We are in 2 Samuel chapter 2, picking it up at verse 8. Last 2 weeks ago, we were dealing with the fact that Saul had been killed, and the Amalekite comes to David and recounts the lie that he had been the one who killed Saul, and then managed to, because he spoke too much, he lost his life. Anyway, but now we have the portion here, and then it was that David was anointed king of Judah, but not all of the nation. We talked about the fact that David wasn't going to push to get the whole nation, that he asked the Lord for direction. The Lord told him to go to Hebron, and so he left that in the Lord's hands to make him king of all of Israel when it was the Lord's timing for all of this. So picking it up at verse 8 of chapter 2, okay, this is where Ishbosheth is made king of Israel. This is Jonathan's son, Saul's grandson. I'll just read the first couple verses here. But Abner, the son of Ner, commander of Saul's army, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mahanaim, and he made him king over Gilead, over the Asherites, over Jezreel, over Ephraim, over Benjamin, and over all Israel. Ishbosheth, Saul's son, was 40 years old when he began to reign over Israel, and he reigned 2 years. Only the house of Judah followed David. And the time that David was king in Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. So the question here initially is, who is Abner? Okay. I'm gonna pass out some verses here so I don't have to be flipping around looking for them. And if you wouldn't mind looking up this verse, and I'll call on you. Okay. Let's do it by volunteer. I need 1 Samuel 14:50. Okay. All right. 1 Samuel 17:55 to 58. Okay.
Could you say that one more time for me?
1 Samuel 17:55 to 58. Okay. Then I need 1 Samuel 26, verses 1 to 12, a bit longer passage. Okay, Robin?
Sorry, say that. It's
1 Samuel 26,
26.
1 to 12. And 1 Samuel 26, 13 to 16. Okay, thank you. All right, so 1 Samuel 14:50.
The name of Saul's wife was Ahinoam, the daughter of Ahimaaz, and the name of the captain of his army was Abner, the son of Ner, Saul's uncle.
Okay, so Abner is Saul's cousin and was the general of his army. 1 Samuel 17:55 to 58.
As soon as Saul saw David go out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As your soul lives, O king, I do not know. And the king said, Inquire whose son the boy is. And as soon as David returned from the striking down of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul, with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, Whose son are you, young man? And David answered, I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite.
Okay, so here we have Abner. Again, it identifies him as the commander or general of the army. So he's the one who brought David to Saul following the, I guess we could call it, in a sense, an execution of Goliath. Okay. I wrote down here, too, that he was with Saul and pursued David for 10 years. Okay. Which seems reasonable, being he was commander of or general of the army. Let's get 1 Samuel 26, 1 to 12.
Now the Ziphites came to Saul at Gibeah, saying, Is David not hiding in the hill of Hachilah, opposite Jeshimon? Then Saul arose and went down to the wilderness of Ziph, having 3,000 chosen men of Israel with him, to seek David in the wilderness of Ziph. And Saul encamped in the hill of Hachilah, which is opposite Jeshimon, by the road. But David stayed in the wilderness, and he saw that Saul came after him into the wilderness. Therefore David sent out spies, and understood that Saul had indeed come. So David arose and came to the place where Saul had encamped. And David saw the place where Saul lay, and Abner the son of Ner, the commander of his army. Now Saul lay within the camp, with the people encamped all around him. Then David answered and said to Ahimelech the Hittite, and to Abishai the son of Zeruiah, brother of Joab, saying, Who will go down with me to Saul in the camp? And Abishai said, I will go down with you. So David and Abishai came to the people by night, and there Saul lay sleeping within the camp, with his spear stuck in the ground by his head. And Abner and the people lay all around him. Then Abishai said to David, God has delivered your enemy into your hand this day. Now, therefore, please let me strike him at once with the spear, right to the earth, and I will not have to strike him a second time. But David said to Abishai, do not destroy him, for who can stretch out his hand against the Lord's anointed and be guiltless? David said furthermore, as the Lord lives, the Lord shall strike him, or his day shall come to die, and he shall not go out to battle and perish. The Lord forbid that I should stretch out my hand against the Lord's anointed. But please take now the spear and the jug of water that are by his head, and let us go. So David took the spear and the jug of water by Saul's head, and they got away, and no man saw or knew it or awoke. For they were all asleep, because a deep sleep from the Lord had fallen on them.
Okay, let's go on to verses 13 to 16.
Then David crossed over to the other side and stood up on top of a mountain at a distance with a large area between them. David called to the people and to Abner the son of Ner, saying, will you not answer? Abner. Then Abner replied, who are you who calls to the king? So David said to Abner, are you not a man? And who is like you in Israel? Why then have you not guarded your lord the king? For one of the people came to destroy today your lord. This thing that you have done is not good. As the Lord lives, all of you must surely die, because you did not guard your lord, the Lord's anointed. And now see where the king's spear is in the jug of water that was at his head.
Okay. I've had us read all these verses because we're setting the stage with regards to Abner. What would Abner's primary responsibility be?
If I was Saul, he'd be guarding me.
Yes, to guard the king, right? And so David manages to steal the spear and the jug of water. You saw in those verses how the Lord intervened and had the deep sleep come over them all. And then then he calls out to the camp from a safe place. And what does he say to Abner?
Are you not a man?
Well, yeah, that's a pretty big slam, isn't it? Yes, okay. And that he should die, yep.
Should have guarded Saul.
He should have guarded Saul. It was a real slap in the face, wasn't it? Yeah. And slaps in the face hurt.
Yes, it would.
Yeah, he really put him down, didn't he? That's important to remember as we go through the rest of the story and dealing with, or in our encounters with Abner. And so I see in here, I have I put a map in there just so we can get the perspective here of the territory of Judah and the kingdom of Israel in that map. Okay, you might want to also look at the map on the next page. Okay, because now we're set up where Abner is going to set up Ishbosheth as king in Mahanaim, I'm not sure how you say that, which is located on the east side of the Jordan. So you can see where David is down in Hebron, okay, and we're going to be dealing with this issue that's coming up here shortly, but you can see where Mahanaim is on the east side of the Jordan, okay? All right, so let's see, I want to go to 1 Samuel 13. Verses 11 to 14. And I have a question here. Why would Abner set up Mephibosheth as king when he knew David was to be king? He knew that.
Maybe he wanted to continue Saul's Mephibosheth was the son of Jonathan,
Yes,
so he wanted to continue the line of Saul, I think.
yes. He was a commander of Saul's army, and so in the culture of the day, like other nations, when a king died, then the oldest son was next in line. Okay? And so he was following cultural appropriateness. Okay? But let's look at 1 Samuel 13, 11 to 14. 1 Samuel 13, 11, 14. And Samuel said, "What have you done?" Saul said, "When I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that you did not come within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered together at Michmash, then I said, the Philistines will now come down on me at Gilgal, and I have not made supplication to the Lord. Therefore I felt compelled and offered a burnt offering. And Samuel said to Saul, you have done foolishly. You have not kept the commandment of the Lord your God, which he commanded you, for now the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever." That's interesting. You know, it doesn't say it here, but where would Joab be at this moment? Likely right beside Saul, or at least within earshot, okay? So you get what God is saying to Saul here. "But now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought for himself a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be commander over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord commanded you." So here we have the two things are really mentioned here. You know, that Joab is hearing that Saul's line is not going to continue, okay, and that God has chosen someone else.
That'd be Abner, right?
Abner, yes. What did I say?
Joab.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I thought you meant Abner.
Abner, yes, thank you. I'll need that correction from time to time. Okay. What Eva shared first there about it was culturally appropriate for the oldest son to become the next king. Could there be other reasons why he would set up Mephibosheth? Yes?
He was probably young, and he could probably assert his own influence over the kingdom.
Assert influence over the king? Yes? Okay, very good. If there's a new king, what's going to happen to Abner?
Change all the setup.
Oh, yes. Will he be commander of the army any longer?
No.
No, he won't. Because you don't have the commander of the enemy army become the commander of the new army. Just not probably a very wise move, okay? Where is your allegiance, okay? So, and it could be that he was seeking to keep the political power that he had, okay, by setting up Mephibosheth. And as we go on through the story, we'll find out that Mephibosheth was really sort of Abner's puppet. Who set him up? Who put him in power? Okay? And could there be another reason why he would set up Mephibosheth, based on what we've read out of 1 Samuel 26?
Maybe he would be very under the influence of Abner, because he was a special needs person. So
Okay.
maybe that's why he would have bigger influence on him than on others.
Yeah, where he was more the person in charge than Mephibosheth. Yes.
He just doesn't like David.
Aha, there we go. So what is he doing?
He's acting out of spite.
Yes, acting out of spite. It could, he's retaliating, isn't he? Is he getting his revenge
Yes.
for having been humiliated? Because he was humiliated publicly in front of the army. It's pretty hard to come back from some of that with your men, okay? And so he has taken a very bold move here. Okay. Next question would be, why would Abner set up Mephibosheth at Mahanaim on the east of the Jordan?
And where is that? East Jordan?
Yeah, it's on the east side. Why didn't he stay within the territory of Israel to the north? Why did he go across to the other side of Jordan? Somebody want to look up Joshua 21:38. Somebody going for that for me?
Joshua,
Okay.
sorry?
Joshua 21:38.
Okay. From the tribe of Gad, they gave Ramoth in Gilead, the city of refuge for the manslayer, with its pasture lands, and Mahanaim with its pasture lands.
Aha. So what was this town?
A city of refuge.
City of refuge. And why are the cities of refuge important?
Because they were that. You weren't allowed to kill anybody there.
Uh-huh. So how does it work? I mean, what's the full picture here?
They would have lots of supplies.
Yeah. Okay.
It says pasture land, so they'd be it's a
Okay.
rich country.
All right. What was the purpose of the cities of refuge?
If you were charged with a crime that was, I think, not punishable by death? Yeah, I think you can hold it.
Let's even be more specific. Then it's not just a crime.
Well, I know manslaughter was one. If you accidentally killed somebody,
Yeah, manslaughter, murder.
you could flee to that city.
Yeah.
As long as you stayed there, nobody could take punishment on you.
Right. Nobody could touch you. And your whole situation was judged to find out what the truth is. So if you were accused, if you were involved in manslaughter, okay, it couldn't be a direct, what do you want to say? It wasn't a premeditated murder. You can't run there if it's a premeditated murder. They'll just throw you out of the city, okay? Because then you're into the person the family is going to get revenge, okay?
Accidental death.
It has to be accidental, yes. So if, for instance, let's just say you're working in the field and your ox tramples somebody by mistake, you're the one who's liable because it was your ox. And so you could flee to a city of refuge and plead your case and then be free of the charge, okay? So,
What if you feel bad? What if you feel bad?
feel bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So why would this town why did he set up Mephibosheth in Mahanaim, or however you say that? Mahanaim. Thank you. That helps.
Yeah,
Where do you put the syllable? What emphasis do you, which syllable?
I thought I asked you, what if you feel bad? If you accidentally, if you feel bad and you shouldn't do it you feel bad.
If somebody felt bad, they could go to that city.
Yes, right. Yeah, that's very true. Okay. So I think the idea here is it would be a safe place, that it's unlikely that David and his army would attack a city of refuge to get him.
I assume Abner is very aware of David's high standard.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yes. Yeah, he was, yeah. When I think about his character, he saw everything that went on, and I wonder if sometimes he didn't have doubts about all that was going on that 10 years when they were chasing David in the desert or wilderness. Okay, so going back to 2 Samuel, chapter 2. Okay, and you'll notice here, I put in here, based on verses 9 and 10, it would seem that it took some time to attain the support of the tribes to recognize Ishbosheth as king. Did you notice how long did Ishbosheth reign? 2 years. And David was in Hebron for 7.5. So Ishbosheth probably was not set up until after 5, or at the 5.5 year point in David's reign in Hebron, which seems to indicate that there was some maybe confusion amongst the tribes of Israel about what to do, but they weren't about to surrender to David, obviously, because they didn't come to him. And Abner took the opportunity. He was an opportunist. Okay? Going on to verses 12 to 17. Now Abner the son of Ner and the servants of Ishbosheth the son of Saul went out from Mahanaim. I'm going to say it wrong again, Paul. Mahanaim? I got it that time. Mahanaim. Oh, yes. Yep.
It's connected with the word passion.
Okay. Yes, good. So they went out to Gibeon. Okay, if you look on the map on the next page, okay, you can see where Gibeon is on the west side of the Jordan. Okay. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met them by the pool of Gibeon. So they sat down, one on one side of the pool, and the other on the other side of the pool. Then Abner said to Joab, "Let the young men now arise and compete before us." And Joab said, "Let them arise." So they arose and went over by number, 12 from Benjamin, followers of Ishbosheth the son of Saul, and 12 from the servants of David. And each one grasped his opponent by the head and thrust his sword in his opponent's side, so they fell down together. Therefore that place was called the Field of Sharp Swords, which is in Gibeon. So there was a very fierce battle that day, and Abner and the men of Israel were beaten before the servants of David. So when Abner set up Ishbosheth as king, he essentially was declaring war. Okay? And this scenario here is very interesting. Okay? It's not like the whole army went out. They were there, but so why would Abner propose this type of contest where you choose 12 from your side and 12 you choose, and David chooses 12 from his side, and they come out and fight each other to the death? Why would he choose this means of securing the power? Save it? Pardon me? Save lives? Okay. Okay. Possibly.
I'm thinking more he was trying to thwart God's plan and figured if he arranges things himself, then, because if God is, not that God can handle 12 people as much as he can an army, but I just wonder if that's what he was thinking.
Okay. So what kind of men would he choose?
Probably the best.
The best, right? What has he forgotten?
God is in control.
David has his mighty men, okay, who are also the best, okay. If you're going to set up a contest like this, and whoever survives, if that's possible, wins, what's Abner thinking? He was confident he could win. Okay? I mean, it's not like the whole army going against the other army. He just had this contest. Okay? And this was the... then I asked here too, why would the 12 combatants on Abner's side be from the tribe of Benjamin?
Left-handed?
Ambidextrous. Okay? They can fight with both hands, so that could be an advantage. Okay? Also, there's another reason. What's Ishbosheth's tribe? Benjamin. Do you think maybe you've got men who have a certain allegiance to Ishbosheth because they're from the same tribe. You might not get the same commitment from if the combatants were from other tribes in the northern part in Israel. You were, and they could be men who were very much wanting Ishbosheth to rule over the whole nation. Okay, they were committed, they were passionate, okay, and so Abner felt he had the advantage. Okay. Notice I put down here, notice that the Greek style of battle was used. This is what was often used with the Greeks, often one-on-one or one after another. It looks like in this case they all went out together, 12 on 12, okay? And all 24 combatants die, and then a battle does ensue with Abner's forces being beaten, because it says here in that verse that David's forces overtook Abner and his army. Anyway, okay. Verse 13. We already read this, but again, we're here we are. So we have Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met them by the pool of Gibeon. So this is the first time that we actually meet Joab, who is the commander of David's forces. He's the son of David's sister, Zeruiah, and we find that in 1 Chronicles 2:13-16. We won't look those up, but she's listed in there. Okay. David had two other nephews by his sister as well, Abishai and Asahel. Okay. We've already been introduced to Abishai when we were reading back there those verses in 1 Samuel 26. What kind of a person was Abishai? Fighting for David. Yeah, he was passionate. Okay, in that situation where David comes and they steal the spear and the jug, what does Abishai want to do?
Yeah, he wanted to kill him.
Yeah. Hey, I've got the spear. Let's put an end to this. Right? He says, let me do it today so I don't have to do it some other day. That's exactly what he said. Okay.
Also, that Lord gives the enemy to you.
Yes, exactly. I mean, isn't it logical? I mean, you couldn't ask for a better setup. I mean, yes, it's obvious. I mean, you don't have to think about this one. Have we ever had situations in our lives like that? It's just, this is the obvious choice. But is it?
No, not always.
I like David's response. How does he respond?
Do not touch the anointing.
Don't touch the anointed of the Lord, right? Which he has said before. He hasn't changed his stance on that. And what do we understand about David and his kingship from that story, that part of the story? Exactly. It's the Lord's choice. When the Lord wants me to be king, I'll be king. And we can appreciate this is 7.5 years this is going on. Okay? I know me. I'd be very impatient. Like, oh, let's get this thing moving. Okay?
You want it yesterday.
Well, yes. And maybe you too.
That's what I'm saying.
Exactly. That's the way we are. That's the way we're built most of the time. Okay? Let's go on to verses 18-32. This is interesting. Now the three sons of Zeruiah were there, Joab and Abishai and Asahel. Okay? And Asahel was as fleet of foot as a wild gazelle. So Asahel pursued Abner. Okay, so remember in verse 17 we have David's army overtaking Abner's army, and Abner flees. And so Asahel pursued Abner, and in going he did not turn to the right hand or to the left from following Abner. You ever been chased by somebody? Well, if you're in a race you know, that guy who's in second place, you know, he's out to catch you, okay? And the one thing you don't want to do is what?
Look back.
Look back. Stay focused, okay?
See forward.
Yes, lean forward and run. But it says, then Abner looked behind him and said, "Are you Asahel?" He answered, "I am." I mean, yeah, if you're running for your life, I'm not sure I could even ask the question. I'd be so far out of breath. Anyways, and Abner said to him, "Turn aside to your right hand or to your left, and lay hold on one of the young men, and take his armor for yourself." But Asahel would not turn aside from following him. So Abner said again to Asahel, "Turn aside from following me. Why should I strike you to the ground? How then could I face your brother Joab?" However, he refused to turn aside. Therefore Abner struck him in the stomach with the blunt end of the spear, so that the spear came out of his back, and he fell down there and died on the spot. So it was that as many as came to the place where Asahel fell down and died, stood still. Okay, so it wasn't uncommon in those days when you had a spear to have it sharpened on both ends. Okay, and so Abner, all he does is does this, and he kills him. Okay, just doesn't even have to turn around and face him. Just throws his spear back, and he's done. Okay, so Asahel pursues Abner, and we notice here Abner has no desire to kill Asahel, but Asahel refused to give up the chase and is killed by Abner with the butt of his spear, which could have been sharpened. Joab and Abishai must have been following close behind their brother and continue pursuing him. Okay, let's carry on. I didn't finish reading all the rest of the verses. Carrying on. Okay, Joab and Abishai also pursued Abner, and the sun was going down when they came to the hill of Ammah, which is before Giah, by the road of the wilderness of Gibeon. Now the children of Benjamin gathered together behind Abner and became a unit, and took their stand on top of a hill. Then Abner called to Joab and said, "Shall the sword devour forever? Do you not know that it will be bitter in the latter end? How long will it be then that you will tell the people to return from pursuing their brethren?" And Joab said, "As God lives, unless you had spoken, surely then by morning all the people would have given up pursuing their brethren." So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still and did not pursue Israel anymore, nor did they fight anymore. Then Abner and his men went on all that night through the plain, crossed over the Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. Yep, that place. Okay. So Abner knew he was beaten. Okay, and he like, are we gonna just keep killing one another off here? You know, and so he calls for a truce, and he recognizes that this war is going to destroy them all. Okay, both sides. Okay. So the big question here is, why would Joab have complied, blown the trumpet, and stopped his troops from pursuing the enemy, especially when you've got the advantage?
Well, he may be thinking of his brother that he want to go back and bury.
Okay, yes. Yeah, he needs to get Asahel. Mm-hmm. What would David's heart be in this whole thing? What would he desire?
That they not kill each other.
Yeah, that the armies don't decimate one another. Okay. David, what we've got here, there was like a declaration of war, but now we're almost into civil war. Okay? It's not just Mephibosheth and Abner and his army against David and his army, but you're involving the whole nation of Israel and Judah, and David would want to unify the nation. He doesn't want to divide the nation. And so he's looking for a way, through Joab here, who I think understood David's heart, is, hey, let's stop this, okay? This is going nowhere. We're going to destroy one another, okay? And so I think that was, in my mind at least, that was would be the objective. Let's try to do a peaceful resolution to this, okay? And also, just as we've already said this evening, David's been confidently waiting in Hebron to be recognized by all Israel to be their king. This isn't helping the situation, okay? If there's civil war, it's not helping the actual tribes of Israel to respect David, okay, and want to follow him, because they just see him, oh yeah, he's just going to take it over, okay, he's going to take it, which we know is not his heart, and I think Joab understood that very well, okay. Going on to chapter 3. Okay, it says, now there was a long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, but David grew stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul grew weaker and weaker. So there is that part of it. Sons were born to David in Hebron. His firstborn was Amnon by Ahinoam the Jezreelitess. His second, Chileab, by Abigail, the widow of Nabal the Carmelite. The third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. The fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith. The fifth, Shephatiah, the son of Abital. And the sixth, Ithream, by David's wife Eglah. These were born to David in Hebron. I put down here, I thought it'd be worth listing out David's wives and David's sons and daughters, because I have certain questions in mind I want to put out there. It says there's interesting information about the king and wives in Deuteronomy 17:17. Can somebody get that quickly? Deuteronomy 17:17. Okay, can you say that louder for everybody? I could just hear you.
He shall not multiply wives for himself, or else his heart will turn away, nor shall he greatly increase silver and gold for himself.
Okay, all right, so the idea here is he won't take many wives to himself? What does that seem to indicate?
More than one.
Uh-huh. Having more than one wife is not condemned according to this verse, okay? Just not many.
Two is just two.
Okay. And that's why it becomes interesting. Okay. Okay, why should the king not have numerous wives? Okay, guys, be careful.
We don't have enough time for all those reasons.
Pardon me?
We don't have enough time.
Yes. We,
Even remembering birthdays.
okay. Yes. I know in our culture standard, and a joke is, I could never handle more than one, okay? But at least in the situation, what would be another really good reason why he shouldn't have many wives?
Causing a lot of problems.
Yes.
Between siblings, between inheritance, between all different issues.
Yes.
Jealousy between the different wives.
Yes, and we've seen that in the scriptures already, haven't we?
Yeah.
With Jacob and his wives and concubines. Okay.
So if they have different faith, like with Solomon, happens that they turn him completely from the focus on the Lord, and they will invite him to different gods, introduced to different gods, and also building the sanctuaries or some places of worship.
Exactly. There's the risk of them bringing idols into the court, okay? And I think what you said, Eva, too, about, and Robin, about the infighting within the family, the jealousy between the wives, and you've got, then it spreads out to the sons and daughters of these wives. You're just setting yourself up for all kinds of family squabbles. Almost, like I said when we first started into this, it's kind of like a soap opera, you know. Yes.
Something even more fundamental.
Oh, go ahead.
Husband and wife are to become one flesh.
Right.
Figure out how you're going to do it when you have more than one wife.
Exactly.
No one flesh.
Yeah. Yes.
But we could see that greatly, for example, with Joseph, when he was hated by the other brothers, which were from multiple wives as well.
Exactly. A good example of that. Yes. Okay. So what could be a reason for having more than one wife? Doing the flip side of this coin.
Producing an army.
Pardon me?
Producing an army.
Producing an army. That's an interesting thought.
You can gain allegiance with another group if you marry the daughter of another leader.
Yep. In the verses we read here, one of them was the daughter of the king of Geshur, right? It's a political alliance. So it's almost like having a peace treaty. You don't have to have a peace treaty. You've got the daughter of the king in the court, okay? And so there was that element, and whether that is in the thinking, well, I'm sure it was in the thinking, but I'm not sure if it's always in the thinking. Okay, another interesting verse is 2 Samuel 12, verse 8, if we just want to go over there for a second.
Wasn't that also convenient, I would say, for the king to have multiple wives as indulging himself, for example?
Yes. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Okay, 2 Samuel 12, 8. Okay. It says here, I gave you and your master's house and your master's wives into your keeping, and gave you the house of Israel and Judah. And if that had been too little, I also would have given you much more. This is Nathan talking on behalf of the Lord about the situation with David's confession, his sin with Bathsheba, okay? When Nathan rebukes David for taking Bathsheba, there's no suggestion at that time that David had too many wives. I think he already had some.
He already had 7, I think.
Yeah, I didn't take account, but Bathsheba was not the second, okay? No. I mean, we know the story well, so we don't have to go back and rehearse that. But
That happened after Hebron, I think. So in Hebron, he already had some.
Yep.
We were reading
yeah,
about.
yes. And so now he's in Jerusalem, and he does this. Okay. Turning the page, it says, the Old Testament says that David had several wives, and following all his wives, until he comes king over all Israel. We have first Michal, okay, or Michal. That's probably a better way to say that. Michal was the second daughter of King Saul, according to 1 Samuel 14:49. David gained the right to marry Michal by paying the bride price that Saul had requested. What was that, Vern? Do you remember? Yes. Yes, he brought more. Yeah, he doubled the Yeah, he doubled the requirement. Okay. Later, Saul gave Michal to another man. That's recorded in 1 Samuel 25, verse 44. When David became king, he demanded that Michal be returned to him. And it is, as a side note here, Michal did not give children to David. Do you remember why she didn't have any children?
Because she didn't like how David was dancing in front of the Lord.
Right.
Before the Lord.
And so why didn't she have children?
The Lord closed up her womb.
That's right. And the Lord judged her, okay, for that. Okay, then we have the second, Ahinoam. Ahinoam was a woman from Jezreel, a village located in South Judah, according to 1 Samuel 25:43. David married Ahinoam during his days as a fugitive from Saul. When David found refuge with the Philistines, Ahinoam came to Gath with David. Ahinoam was the mother of Amnon, David's oldest son. Okay. All right. Abigail. Abigail was the wife of Nabal, a rich man from Carmel who refused to help David by providing food for David and his men. After Nabal died, at the hands of God, if we want to put that in there, David married Abigail, according to 1 Samuel 25:39-42. David married Abigail shortly after marrying Ahinoam. Abigail was the mother of Chileab. His name also appears as Daniel in 1 Chronicles 3, verse 1. Then you have Maacah. Maacah was the daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. David's marriage with Maacah was a political arrangement to cement an alliance with the Geshurites. Maacah was the mother of Tamar and Absalom. This is important. These relationships are important. Tamar and Absalom. Haggith. Nothing is known about Haggith. Haggith was the mother of Adonijah, 2 Samuel 3:4. Her son was born in Hebron, the place where David was crowned as king of Judah. Okay, you see the plot thickening here a bit if you know the story. Here you have Adonijah that we're going to find out in actually First Kings when we get there, near the end of David's life, where Adonijah tries to take the throne. Okay, when he knows that David is in his dying days, he tries to take the throne. Okay, Abital. Nothing is known about Abital. She was the mother of Shephatiah, another of David's sons, who was born in Hebron. And then you have Eglah. Eglah was the mother of Ithream. Nothing is known about Eglah or her son Ithream. Okay, that was while he was in Hebron. How many? Yeah, here we are, 7. Yes, thank you, Eva. I did have them counted.
I wasn't sure, but
that was a good guess.
no, I was counting a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't sure if it was 7, but I
Yeah.
was wondering. He had so many already and still wanted Bathsheba.
Yes, you're right. You would think that he had enough. Okay? Any rate, then after he becomes king over all Israel, we have Bathsheba, was the wife of Uriah the Hittite. Bathsheba was the daughter of Eliam, the son of Ahithophel. Okay? Ahithophel, this is interesting, was one of David's advisors. And after Uriah died at the command of David, David married Bathsheba. Their first child died shortly after his birth. Bathsheba was the mother of their second son, Solomon, and 3 others. Okay. David's other wives. After the death of a king, it was customary for the new king to take possession of his predecessor's wives. According to 2 Samuel 12:8 that we read, David took possession of Saul's harem in order to legitimize his kingdom. Nathan said to David, "Thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, I anointed you king over Israel, and I rescued you from the hand of Saul. I gave you your master's house and your master's wives into your bosom." Okay. And then you have David's concubines. After David conquered Jerusalem, he took several women from Jerusalem as concubines. In Jerusalem, after he came from Hebron, David took more concubines and wives, 2 Samuel 5:13. It is possible that these wives and concubines were political marriages designed to strengthen David's political alliances with rich and powerful families of the Canaanites who lived in Jerusalem. The concubines were secondary wives, and their children probably did not share the same rights of inheritance as the other children of David. And then you have Abishag. In his old age, David took Abishag as his nursemaid. However, the Bible text in 1 Kings 1 says that David did not have sexual relations with her. Okay. Then we go on to David's sons, and I put the passages there. Yes?
So would this not all be adultery then? Or how does that work?
If they weren't married to anyone else, okay, they were just, okay, well, of course, when he gets Saul's concubines, he's dead. So, by him having the concubines, there's not adultery involved because the previous husband is no more.
But aren't they then with a married man? So would it be
I know, it's complicated. Yes. You have any thoughts on this, Paul?
I would say most of the marriages were political in nature and not necessarily for intimacy.
Yeah, and whether he actually had sexual relationships with,
he's having kids?
yeah, with those ones, yes, but with the concubines and other wives, it's not, there's no, it could be, well, according to the culture of the time with other nations, the more wives and concubines you had, the more power you had. You were considered wealthy, okay,
So
by
God
their,
at the time allowed this.
pardon me?
So God at the time allowed this.
He allowed it. But he did put that caution that we read about in Deuteronomy that it was not a good idea to have many wives. I think David missed that one. Okay?
What about his son?
Yes.
This one was
Solomon.
exceedingly generous.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we'll be talking about Solomon later, but it's kind of like, where did he learn this? Okay. All right.
If it was customary for him to take Saul's wives and concubines, like, he didn't really have a choice on that, like, or could he have done something about that?
He had a choice.
I think he had a choice and he took it.
He did have a choice.
Well, okay, like I said here, I think what it did, it would solidify in the minds of the northern tribes that he was in power. He was the one in power, okay, because they were following the cultures of the region, and so by taking them, he was saying, "I'm the king." Okay, if he had not done that, it might not have had the same impression, at least in my mind. Okay, yes.
I think it is good to note, it was adultery. It was not ever God's plan to have more than one man and one wife. And if you wonder at the outcome, just keep reading.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. It's just when I came across that, it kind of boggled my brain, that God set that out, and then to read the verse that we did in Deuteronomy which seems to contradict that.
So that's why I'm saying, like, why would he take on those, if it was customary, yes, like you said, it was part of the thing, but yet he wasn't supposed to do it, so it's like an oxymoron type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways also, though, in taking over Saul's wives, as well as even maybe taking the wives of other kings that he's conquered, there may have been an element of taking the responsibility of caring for those women and their children.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that.
That's the responsibility of the king, having subjected.
Okay, and I know, yes, that's a very valid point, Paul, because in some of the other cultures, when the king dies, oftentimes the wives and concubines were killed as well. Yes, Vern.
I know
Mm-hmm.
when he is established as king. And Adonijah,
Yeah.
he goes to Bathsheba and says, hey, can you ask Solomon if he'll give me Abishag?
Yeah.
And because, and Solomon's response there, it says, King Solomon answered and said unto his mother, and why dost thou ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah? Ask for him the kingdom also, and for he is my elder brother, even for him, and for Abiathar the priest, and for Joab, and so on.
Yeah.
But, he saw that as it was a very political move that he was trying to do.
Yes. Adonijah was being very subtle,
Yes.
okay, by getting Bathsheba to go, who seemed to be oblivious to what the real motive here was. But by doing that, by getting Abishag, it was an attempt to take the throne.
That's right.
Yeah.
Also look at Absalom. What did Absalom do?
Same.
First thing he did was take his father's wives and concubines
Exactly.
and publicly disgraced his father
Right.
to take the throne.
Yeah. That's been the motivation in both these scenarios. Yeah, exactly. Boy, looks like our time is gone. I had hoped we'd get a little further, but we will pick it up next week with David's sons and try to finish chapter whatever we are, 3. Yes, we should be able to get through that, but I don't want to just try to push through these because it's important. We want to say certain things about these sons because they're all going to repeat as we go through the chapters, and so we can get a sense of who they are. Okay? So, all right. Thank you, folks. Thank you for your involvement, participation. I appreciate it. Okay.
Have a good week.
Or I could hide Nixon's water. Or you hunt me down.
Yes, I will.
This was always our question. How come Ted, it was okay so then, and now, even when you divorce, it's not. And you don't have like 10 or whatever, 1,000 like some.
I ought to say.
Maybe so. That's what we always wanted to,
Roving eyes.
not only. Some, I know, but something else was
Sunday.
really